We have none other but the very cute and friendly Deshaye Faughtner. Deshaye, can you say hi to everyone? Deshaye, she's so sweet. Is a licensed acupuncturist, herbalist, certified massage therapist whose passion for the healing arts is fueled by her strong Ethiopian, Blackfoot, and African American lineage. She's the founder of Muse of Healing Acupuncture and Wellness Center in Oakland, whose craft brings a warm, unique, intuitive, well-informed, yet empowering understanding of healing oneself in a traditional way. How's that? She graduated with a BA from UCLA and received her acupuncturist training from the Academy of Chinese Culture and Health Sciences here in Oakland. Her specialty is hormonal imbalances, pre- and post-conception or fertility issues, and stress management. She's created a line of all-natural body care products called Muse of Healing Body. Her philosophy is we have to heal the whole person through connecting the mind, body, and soul because it's all one. And Deshaye is also a member of the Reclaimer. Thank you, Deshaye.
How are you guys doing this morning? Good. Can I hear it again? Yeah. All right. That's what I'm talking about. Again, my name is Deshaye Faughtner. I'm a little bit nervous to be up here, so you guys have to bear with me just a little bit. My name is Deshaye Faughtner, and as Kala said, I am a licensed acupuncturist, a herbalist, and a certified massage therapist. And I'm also the owner of Muse of Healing Acupuncture and Wellness Center. My specialty is working with women, men, and two-spirited and gender variant folks that have hormonal imbalances, as well as couples, like all types of couples, not just heterosexual, but all types of couples that are seeking conception. Okay, start over, pull it together. I also work with children and adults who suffer from both acute and chronic ailments, such as hepatitis, bedwetting, teething, sleeping disorders, stress management, dietary changes, and just the basic things like the common cold and flu symptoms. I know some of you guys are wondering what the heck is acupuncture, and how does it work, and is it something that I can benefit from? So acupuncture is an ancient healing art that's been around for over 3,000 years. It treats the mind, body, and soul as a whole person. Acupuncture uses herbs, acupuncture needles, acupressure, massage, cupping, moxa, all sorts of things to stimulate the body's immune system into healing itself. Within the body, we have what we call 14 meridians, and the meridians run throughout the whole body, so if you can just visualize like a chart like a skeleton with like energetic lines running from the top of the head to the foot, from the arms to the foot, so it runs all through the body. And so within those 14 meridians, you have acupuncture points, and there's over 365 acupuncture points that are there to you stimulate those points, and that's how it jumpstarts the body into healing itself. Are you guys still with me? Yes. You can think of the meridian as a freeway or a highway within the body. So what ends up happening is a lot of times, like, we all know about the 880 freeway, right? Yeah. Okay. So when you're on the 880 freeway and it's flowing nice, smoothly, there's no issues, you guys feel good, you're happy, you get to work on time. But when the 880 freeway has a traffic jam, then everything stops. And then people get mad, people get upset, you start getting a headache, you know, your stomach starts gurgling, all sorts of things start to happen. And so what happens is, excuse me, when there's a traffic jam within the body, then there's an imbalance that occurs. And so that's how diseases and illnesses start to manifest. So I covered that. So how does imbalances occur? Sometimes imbalances occur from all sorts of things like, you know, there's environmental factors, you know, such as if you're exposed to toxins all the time, you can think of the refineries. You can think about people that are overworking. A lot of us put in a lot of time and we don't take care of ourselves in that way. Sometimes it's emotional factors, sometimes it's spiritual factors that also play a part in it. So there's like many things that cause imbalances and have, that causes the traffic jam to occur within the body. So my philosophy is, just to pull it back and to connect it to movement generation, is the philosophy behind Muse of Healing is that it's every person's birthright, regardless of class, race, age, gender, socioeconomic status, to have access to well-informed, quality, client-centered, safe, and most importantly, affordable health care. Because a lot of times what I ended up seeing is I've worked in clinics, and also like when you go to school to study, you have to complete a certain amount of clinical hours. And so when I was in clinic, it was great because I got to see like all sorts of people that look like you and I coming through the clinic, receiving treatments, and that was because Medi-Cal paid for 2 treatments a month. And so about a year into it, I noticed that almost all those clients that were Black and brown people had just disappeared. They weren't coming in for treatment, and then I realized like a month later that Medi-Cal had cut the services to provide acupuncture treatment for the clients. So I saw a huge dip in numbers for the people who actually really needed the services. And then I also have interned and worked for other, fertility clinics where people come in and, they're mostly white, upper class working women who only have access to those services for fertility. And so with those two together, I was just like, something's a little bit off. Like, this medicine is the medicine that comes from mostly people of color, yet we don't have access to it. So like, how is it that that's possible? And like, why is that possible? And most importantly, like, how can I change that? And so what I decided to do is I decided to offer a clinic on a sliding scale for women who want to, because I believe everybody has a right to have a family, like if that's what they choose to do. And I think that, some of us, we have different ways of achieving a family unit, but I feel like that should be accessible to everybody. So what I did is I actually added, offer a sliding scale fee for all my services, and that includes the fertility services as well. And also, Muse of Healing, I believe that the mind, body, and soul are all one. And in order to bring our communities back to center, we first have to start with our own mental, physical, and spiritual selves. Once we reach that place of balance, we're able to cope more effectively with the everyday stressors. And so my philosophy is like what we're learning through all this is to be able to just go back to center, because I think that back in the days, like we were so, like our ancestors, our grandmothers, our great-grandmothers, they were so in touch with their bodies, and they were able to like look at their kids and say, oh, like this is what's going on with you, and this is how you need to deal with it. And that was on the level of like not just the physical, but also the mental and the spiritual part of it. And so one of the things that I try to focus to do is just to bring things back to center and to have people to connect to their own bodies in that way. By learning to detect the problems within our body before we need invasive measures, because a lot of times like our bodies give us like, warnings. It says like, okay, you've been out working too much, too hard, you're partying too hard, you're doing whatever you're doing too hard. Like it's like knocking on the door and saying like, hey, pay attention to me. And it's when we don't pay attention because we've been taught how not to pay attention to our bodies because we're working so hard, we're trying to make ends meet. And so, what the focus is just to make sure we learn how to detect the problems within our body before we need invasive measures like surgeries and cancer and things like that. We also learn how to trust our bodies and how to eat and sleep well, even when we have to get up the next day and keep going. We also learn to trust our intuition, because that's like a big thing that I know that for me on a spiritual and ancestral level that I was taught, like you always trust your gut because it never lies. And also, like, the other important thing is just to be able to trust our community and know that they have our back with the things that we need. And so, anyways, to bring it back to center, Mohawk wants everyone to have the opportunities to access their birthright of feeling good about living in this time and age in whatever choices they decide to make, whether it's choosing to give birth as a single gender variant person or running a marathon. We all have the right to be at our optimal level without the social injustices that are often imposed on our communities. I just want to touch a little bit on that because I think, you know, it's like so crazy because there's like so many things that you see and you have to pick and choose like which ones you want to focus on and how you're going to do your best to, you know, put out what you can to the community. And I think that one of the things that I've seen over and over again is how like the healthcare system just fails us repeatedly, but yet they're constantly telling us that we have no right to be the healers that we are. And you know, like I always relate things to my own personal stories and like how that, you know, brings me back to center in the way that I am. And one of the stories is about my mother. She was diagnosed with squamous cell carcinoma of the throat. And, you know, they basically said, like, people with that type of cancer only live for, like, 1 to 2 years. And so, you know, she went through many treatments. She went through the chemotherapy and all that. But there was never any room for, like, alternative health, you know, alternative services offered to her. And so maybe about a year into her treatment, she was still kicking, she's still alive, she's really stubborn, and I'm sure she's in this room with us right now. But, you know, so we went through the whole system, they medicated her, there was so many things, and I had just at that time started acupuncture school. And so I was sort of like a little bit nervous about like, how do you treat her, what are the options that we have to, you know, to offer to her. And so basically, to make this longer story even longer, what I decided to do is with the little bit of knowledge I had, I decided to treat her myself and offer her the service that I knew that I had. And also because I grew up with a long line of like, you know, my great-grandmothers doing herbs and, you know, things like that. So basically like what I ended up doing is I ended up treating her, and at the time my own health became compromised. So I went and I sought out acupuncture treatment for myself, and then realized that there was no way that I could afford to send her to the same treatment, do the same process. And so we ended up working it out. She did end up passing away, but the quality of her life due to the acupuncture was like amazing. Like she just felt really good for the time that she was feeling good. Yeah, it just went all the way out the window, but that's okay. So I guess my point is that, you know, basically like the medical system had basically given up on her and was just like, there's nothing we can do. When there was something that can be done, you know, there was alternative treatments. Her insurance company didn't cover it. And so a lot of times I think that folks, like us, we get put in these situations where we don't have all the necessary tools that we need to make us feel as good as we should. And a lot of that just has to do with, you know, just how the system wants to keep us down. And and I guess what I'm trying to say is that we can't let that happen. And so, yeah, thank you.